record. So we are jumping into our first league with Grixis Shadow, testing out Bonecrusher Giant. One copy in the main, one copy in the board. Let's see what we got. Alright, round number 1. Hand's pretty good. We've got turn 1, some interaction. Turn 2, we can Thought Scour into Gurmag. Or turn 1, Thought Scour. Turn 2, interaction. Turn 3, Gurmag. Kevin, you're a Bonecrusher Giant fan? I've tried it out in a 4-color before as like a traverse target, but I've never tried it out in Grixis. So, kind of interested to see how it does. I'm hoping it does pretty well. Not sure how it is in Shadow, though. Neither am I. But hey, if we don't try it out, we're never going to learn, right? So, opponent mold to 5 with the Blood Crypt. What does that tell me? Out of a Rakdos deck, there's not a whole lot on turn 2 that I'm particularly scared about. So I'm probably just going to Inquisition here. Like, Stubborn Denial, it's kind of like turn 1, it's great. Turn 3 against, like, Blood Moon, it's great. Or Liliana the Veil. Turn 2, it's a little mediocre. So I think we're just going to go for fire off this Inquisition. Our opponent mulliganed. It could be like a Trickery deck or like one of the Jund Valki decks, which I think is exactly what it is. I think it's a Bloodbraid Valki deck. So let's just go ahead and hit... Do we want to hit Demonic Dread? So like... If they Cascade into Valki, I don't really care about either half of Valki. Like, I can Saw Stub the Tybalt side of it. I can dismember the Valki side of it. But it's probably just safer to take it. Where's our Invasion of the Giant so Bonecrusher can be cast for 1 mana like every other spell in the deck? Do you know how badly I wish that, Boo. Do you know how badly I wish that that card said, like, creatures with CMC X or greater were 2 less to cast this turn? Like, if I could cast a Gurmag Angler off of it? Alright. So, kind of rude of our opponent to take our Gurmag Angler. Yeah, I want to cast my Shadow for 2 less. Exactly. Like, I should get a rebate on casting my Shadow. Magic should say, oh, you're playing a creature that's, like, so bad that you get mana back for it. Easy. See, Dogfish, played your posted list from recent 3-1, just a few matches to end the night. Got out a turn 2 Gurmag, held up stubbed the first Trickery. My opponent just backed out of the match, didn't even go to game 2. I keep trying to tell people, like, it's a pretty good matchup for us. So you're just going to Windmill Slam this Blood Moon. Alright, so I'm probably going to, like... Oh, they Simian Spirit Guide. Alright. This does mean that we need to find our basic swamp. Or else we can't do a whole lot. Did I see that Fran 5-0'd with a Dono Grixis 2017 list yesterday? I did not. That's pretty awesome, though. Alright, let's go ahead and take this thing off the table. Second Blood Moon. Stomp. Why not get swamped? Dismember Valki and cast Gurmag. Was I missing something? You were missing me forgetting that the card came back to me. I was thinking it was like, what's it called? Skyclave Apparition, where the card's just gone forever. But it's okay, because we're going to draw the swamp right here. Or we draw something that's not the swamp right there. I do have PTSD from Skyclave. Card's a nightmare. I mean, I can cast the Giant if I find another land. My opponent could just, like, stomp me again. Alright. So we got cheesed out by a top deck Simian Spirit Guide. Alright, what's our game plan? Aether Gusts are great. So, Valki and Blood Moon effects, eh? Usually things that we can cast through Blood Moon, get a little bit of a premium. Valki, Blood Moon. Something like this. What are the real bad matchups for Grixis? Go wide strats, mid-range. Obviously, Uro matches are Uro matches. To go by, worst matchups for Grixis are go wide aggressive decks. Decks like humans, spirits, elves, traditional affinity. Obviously, without Mox Opal, not so much anymore. Zoo decks. Mid-range is closer to 50-50. Like, Shadows itself is terrible against mid-range decks, but Gurmag Angler is usually like an all-star. Uro matches, it's kind of draw dependent. Like, you can have draws that really aggro them out. But you can also have draws that just like get a Gurmag bounced into Field of the Deaded into Oblivion. Burns, close. Any like straight blue-white control-based deck is bad. Especially if they just like subscribe to the idea of needing 4 Path, 4 Purge, Archmage's Charm. It's pretty good if we find a threat, right? Like, we've got our basic. We've got disruption. They're pitching Bloodbraid. So we can stub to try to protect ourselves from the turn 1 death. Or turn 2 death. I think that's what I'm going to do. It's like if they go for Land Spirit Guide, Demonic Dread, Violent Outburst, whatever, we get to Stubborn Denial and make them have a second copy of like Simian Spirit Guide. That's a lot of Blood Moons. And Boil. Okay. Let's do it, opponent. Alright, what do we got? Wagner, how's it going? It's not terrible right now. We're in the first match. Got cheesed out by a top deck Spirit Guide game 1. They're just gonna go for the Blood Moon. Blood Moon on top. So Gurmag Angler, I think, would be like best draw here. Something, something. Never didn't have it. Nope. Gurmag Angler's a 5/5. Alright. So now we just like... We're fine with Blood Moon. We just don't really want to let Boil resolve. And we're winning the race against Bloodbraid Elf. These all-in-gen lists are weird. They should be bad, but they're like strangely not from what I've seen. Yeah, they're not terrible. This Jund deck has to just auto lose to Trickery combo, though. Probably. I don't know why I was thinking like Valki hit cards out of hand, so maybe there's a chance. But does not. So again, we're like completely fine if our opponent casts Blood Moon. But we need to stop Boil so we at least have access to blue mana. Looks like they're just going to go for now. No. Bad opponent. Alright, so Blood Moon, unknown. Yep. Alright, on to game 3. You know, it's a sad state of Modern when even Jund is going all in for the cheese. I mean, I can't really argue it. Like, they feel like they need Blood Moons and Boils and Tybalt's Trickery to win, so... So, I'm bringing in Mystical Dispute. It's just like a bad mana leak here. I think they have enough things that I want to be able to counter that having it in the deck is probably better than not. I'm the person who made the opponent's deck. It isn't all in cheese. It has a ton of mid-range interaction. I mean, I'm guessing it, like, depends on the definition of mid-range interaction, right? So we could say, like, it subjectively has mid-range interaction. I'd be okay conceding that point. But I know within Magic in general, there's a lot of different definitions of mid-range interaction. Stomp, Maelstrom Pulse, K-Command. See, that's better. I just haven't seen any of those cards. So, like, if you told me it has mid-range interaction, but all I saw was Blood Moon, Boil, Tybalt's Trickery, and Cascade spells, I'd disagree. But if it's got actual interaction, then yeah, definitely has mid-range interaction. When my buddy called Amulet a mid-range deck, I wanted to throw him out the window. What was it? Fran would always say it's a toolbox deck. It's not a combo deck. So let's see. We have the list. Here, I'll drop you a sub while I'm here. So we've got a spot for a deck list, but we don't have the deck list. So I'm going to have to kind of ley line of the void. Opponent, what are you doing? You're a bad person. Alright. I think we'll just lead off on Thoughtseize. My thought process here is if my opponent has got, like, great draw. If they've got second land, Simian Spirit Guide, Cascade spell, and I'm able to take them off of one of those, that it at least forces them to top deck the other. It's like if I take Valki, I'm forcing them to top deck Simian Spirit Guide for Demonic Dread, and if it's not Spirit Guide, then I just get to start having Shadow up. So, here's hoping. They top decked Overgrown Tomb, so let's get down Shadow. We saw Stomp out of their deck, so I'm more inclined to fetch and shock here so that Shadow doesn't just die to a Stomp. Like, if I'm in a commanding position like this, I don't just want to give my opponent, like, an oops, I win out. Are you going to go for the Valki? So all we need is for them to have not cascaded in, or not hit a, what's it called? Simian Spirit Guide. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all 4 of them, so they don't have a Spirit Guide in hand. Don't have an Elvish Spirit Guide? Is that a thing I can hope for? Alright, let me finish this game real quick, and then we'll check out the deck list that you've got. Alright. So I think playing out Shadow is worse against exactly Boil. Basically anything else, it's better to hold up the Mystical Dispute. Or against Boil, it's better to hold up the Mystical Dispute. But holding back the shadow is worse against, like, Bloodbraid Elf into something. Because I've got the Drown in the Loch for anything that's not Boil. Or if they have to go, like, fetch land into Boil. Drown's good. Fetch land. Fetch land to ice the game, please. Alright. GG's. Let's check out this list that MTG Tavern has dropped on us. So, 2 Lily of the Veil, 2 Chandra, 4 Valki, 4 Bonecrusher. It's our... Let me see. Let's check real quick and compare. It's like, this is the first time I've seen this all-in Jund version. Or the first time I've played against it. I don't know why I thought I'd hit play already. Alright. So I want to get to their Cascade and then see what all they had. Alright. No, come back list. Alright. So Bloodbraid Elf, Goblin Rabble Master. There is a Maelstrom Pulse in here. 4 Spirit Guides, Valkis. All the Cascade spells, Leyline. Yeah, so you're on like a couple Blood Moons out of the board. This one's on like 4 main board Blood Moons, which I kind of have to assume means Magus of the Moon as well. Could be a mixed match of lists from Squad Chief. Like, no telling. I feel like there's a dozen different lists running around right now. Apparently, Utterly Milked is hating on it. See, I quellered my opponent's spell, and their violent image to copy Queller and counter their own spell. Oof. Bench went 4-1, 3-2, 4-1 with it. When he saw, you said you 5-0'd on Will Hall's stream. So the list is all over the place. I would say I'm the one on Karn package. Chief is on Karn package now too. Let's check this out. Come back here. So Karn is just like a value plan if they lock you out or if you can't Cascade. Speak of the devil. Gonna give a hard time. So Will's mold to 6. See, I noticed the strength of the deck is turn 2 Blood Moon or turn 2 Tybalt, but if deck is not hit by Moon, you want some Bridge to survive. Also, Karn had me steal my opponent's walkers by liquid metal coating it and then -3 Tybalt. That's pretty great. Alright. Need to dial back the lands a little bit, deck. Let's see. MRC Jr. What's up, Michael? Greetings from Brazil. Greetings to you as well. Have you considered the new Valki god? Of course, Shadow decks can't abuse from the Planeswalker side, but the creature side is kind of decent. So it is one that I've thought about. I think that I'm higher on the creature side than a lot of people are. The issue with it in like Shadow decks is a 2/1 that only takes creatures better than just like a straight Thoughtseize or better than some of the other value creatures we could have in that slot. And I think that we could have better options. So what does opponent shocking in right there mean for us? It's like a growth spiral upkeep. I know, it is Cascade. Alright, so I would like to counter Tybalt's Trickery. That way this Drown in the Lock can start countering the next Trickery. Shadow's a good pickup. And we'll just say go. I'm not going to play out this Shadow yet. Shadow also means we can start doing things like Snap Stubborn Denial. Mystic Sanctuary back a Trickery. That could be problematic. If he just has like third Trickery or third Cascade spell plus that Trickery in hand, then I could be in a rough spot. don't have the third outburst. What did I say about not having the third outburst? Alright. So Aether Gust is great, Dispute's great. Bonecrusher just as another threat is probably fine. Ashiok could be a lot better here than it is against like other variations of the deck. Really lucky drawing 3. I mean, to an extent, yeah. It's not the worst thing to draw multiples of. We don't know if he's on any other Cascade spells outside of Outburst, so he might have had some other out to draw to. Could be Titan package. Could be. I don't really want to, like, respect the Titan package until I see it. But, like, we also just didn't do anything for 4 turns there. When we needed to be, like, getting a threat out, getting pressure. Think Soul Guide's better than Ashiok? To an extent, but I want to stop him from having, like, 5-6 mana as well. Not just hit the graveyard. I don't want him to be able to cast a Cascade spell and have a Tybalt's Trickery. But they don't only play 1 Tibalt. Like, we just saw him have 2 in the yard and Mystic Sanctuary 1 back into his hand and then Violent Outburst into it. Like, he had multiple Tybalt's Trickeries. Bobble on top. Like, it looks to me like he's just planning on having a Trickery every turn from, like, turn 3 onwards. Not see it. I thought it was still the Sodec list. Nah, definitely not. This, it goes to top of the library right hand, but it goes top of the library, end of my turn, or on his upkeep, and then he can violent outburst at instant speed into it before he puts it into his hand. Or once we get up to like 5 mana, he's just able to start like playing a Cascade spell, and then sanctuarying back the Cascade spell every turn, / sanctuary back Tybalt's Trickery to be able to interact with my counter spells against him. Sweet, you can Thought Scour them with a Sanctuary. I can do that. You are correct. Like, if the deck is just all in on Violent Outburst and, like, sanctuarying it back, then we've got a reasonable chance. Because that means that they're likely not going to be running much, like, interaction for what we're doing. So now I can Thoughtseize to check the hand for like a Trickery in hand. Something that would interact with my counter spells. It's got nothing, so we'll pass the turn. And on upkeep, Thought Scour Helm. Colony Garden's a pretty funny one. That's also a pretty funny one. Alright. Don't think we're... So if he's all in on Trickery, or all in on Outburst, Mystic Sanctuary, how do we want to interact with that? Like, I'm still kind of big on the Ashiok's because he's got to have a lot of fetch lands in the deck for Mystic Sanctuary to be relevant. Like, maybe Soul Guy's Lantern is better. Like, I could honestly see just cutting Battle Rages and going, like, full hard control mode. But I don't really want to cut Battle Rage if they don't have any way to interact with it. Maybe something like that. Well, I can, like, situationally tap out for her, right? Like... Like, for the most part, I'm okay with having turns where I give my opponent one draw step to top deck exactly something. If I know I'm just going to, like, lock them out after that. Is Ashiok a girl? I'm pretty sure Ashiok is genderless. Let's see. Ashiok is a nightmare planeswalker of unknown gender and origin. Ashiok is bae. Let's just go with that. Ashiok is pretty great. Alright. Little deck manipulation into Shadow with Stubborn Denial. Ashiok is an ethereal nightmare weaver. You're not wrong there. Please don't turn one me, Will. Ooh. Don't say, deck. If I had $1 for every time I bobbled into seeing a bobble, I would be so rich. Alright, Delta on top. We don't want. Thoughtseize is a really good draw. No. Rude. Cling to Dust is pretty good as well. Alright, so let's Thoughtseize and see what we're up against. Outburst, Trickery, Emrakul. So, funny they can't actually cast this Outburst right now. So if that's the case, I'm wondering if I just need to take the Trickery. Probably not. It's probably still just take Outburst, right? Because, like, if they counter a Shadow on the way down, I get to flip into something random. Is the Trickery useful without the Cascade? It can be. So, like, using Trickery to counter or to fight over our counter spells later is a real thing. Alright, so we know they top decked Colony Garden there. So I'm going to go for end of turn Cling to Dust. Like, try to get this Trickery out of hand. Yeah, he needs to get to 5 mana, but I mean, like, he's about to have 5 mana, right? Alright. He's got to turn to top deck a Trickery here. Or not a Trickery, a Violent Outburst. And if not, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on him. He doesn't have any other 3-mana spells. It's just like Violent Outburst, Tybalt's Trickery, Emrakul, and then all value lands. It doesn't look like he's got any other like actual spells in the deck. Got 4 Mist Cutters in the deck. Yeah, I was not about to play around the Mist Cutter Hydra. I would have gotten so wrecked by a Mist Cutter Hydra. Oh, man. That's great. Yes, Mist Cutter Hydra. Is this gentleman. Really popular control hoser in Theros Standard. Because it just scales really well as the game goes on. They can't counter it. Can't kill it with blue stuff. So, like, it dodged Detention Sphere. Things like that. And it's just like a hasty dude that you beat your opponent in the face with. So, a lot of times you'd have green X, mid-range, and aggro decks just sideboarding in like 4 copies of Mist Cutter Hydra. Because blue-white control was so prevalent during that standard. Doesn't that mess up his Cascade? It could. He could absolutely Cascade into a Mist Cutter Hydra. But he said chat made him do it. And if there's anything I have started to learn while getting into the streaming game, it's that if chat says to do something, you often don't have a lot of say in the matter. Always trust chat. Trust is a strong word there. Kevin, do I trust you about Stoneforge Mystic? You're putting my heart to the test here. I'd say I trust you more about Stoneforge Mystic more than I trust Will's chat about Mist Cutter Hydra. How about that? Alright, this hand's pretty bad. This is better. Still not great, but better. Keep bottom of an island. What have we got? Scalding Tarn. Don't believe there's going to be too many worlds where I want Scalding Tarn. But I will almost always take a Thoughtseize. Ooh. Little Yawgmoth, eh? Yawgmoth with double mana dork. Guess it's just take the Yawgmoth, say go, figure out what we're doing from here. Wow, I'm insulted unfollowing. I don't blame you. Equip Batterskull on Shadow for the memes. I've equipped Batterskull onto a Gurmag Angler. Or no, it was a sort of Feast and Famine on a Gurmag Angler. That's right. I'm not too terrified of Eldritch Evolution here, but I guess if I'm given the opportunity, I will soft stub it. Good draw. Alright. Let's go ahead and start trying to get some of this damage in. Is this a 50-50 matchup? I'd call this a probably bad matchup, honestly. They've got a lot of value pieces in their deck. Fortunately, Ashiok's a really good hoser out of the sideboard for us. Stops Eldritch Evolution, stops Chord of Calling. It seems to me like they've got a Chord at the moment. All right. They have double Chord Eldritch Evolution. Yikes. 4, 5, 6. So any of these are for 3 drops. So we'll take a Chord, plan on countering the other Chord, let the Eldritch Evolution resolve. Because they're only getting a 3 drop, which has got to be like... what's his name? ETB Drain 2 guy. Geralf's Messenger. I'll let them keep the good Chord. Mismatching chords. I know, it's terrible. Yes, Yawg is super consistent if you can't, like, kill them off very quickly. They will get to Yawgmoth, and it will be bad for you. So, like, that's part of the reason that I fatal pushed that Young Wolf earlier, is just so if they sacked it to Eldritch Evolution or blocked with it, it's not coming back. It's just gone. We don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't want it around no mo. Alright. So for anybody that's new to the channel or checking it out for the first time, this is our maybe pile. Just because I'm putting 13 cards over here does not mean I'm bringing them all in. It just means this is what I want to look at. Do you keep in Battle Rage? Yes. I absolutely keep in Battle Rage. Because you need to be able to trample through a bunch of undying things. Because they're going to have a lot of chump blockers really often. And we need to fight through that. Bird Tribal has many blockers. Exactly. Alright. How many cards am I boarding out? So K Command at 3 mana is a bit slow. Kozilek's Return's okay for like sweeping a bunch of blockers. It's not great, but it's okay. So yeah, I'm for sure boarding out these. I've got 6 more cuts. I do think that, like, trying to fight with Undying triggers on the stack is a little bit of a trap. Viking, how's it going? Hope you're off to a great, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday afternoon. Yeah. We've got some deck manipulation. We got a push. We've got a cling. Maybe opponent's nice and mulligans to 2. Yeah. Like to leave my options online. Leyline of Sanctity. Sure. I'm really hoping that they boarded in something like Leyline of Sanctity and Veil of Summer. So you can just, like, double get Thought Seizes. But this is also really dangerous from them, right? Like, mulliganing to Leyline of Sanctity and just, like, not having a very functional hand after that. Not like ours is getting better. Strangleroot guys, sure. Strangleroot Geist, no attack, so you're concerned about me getting a shadow online. To me, that's a sign of not having a follow-up here. What I mean is not having a follow-up, not having an answer to a threat. So I think what I'm going to do is push this, cling it with the Undying trigger on the stack. That way they can't, like, Eldritch Evolution it away or something. Looks like I'm playing a real deck today. I don't play real decks. I play Shadow all the time. Nobody has ever confused me for playing real decks. Alright, so let's stomp this on their upkeep. Guess we can see what we draw. Just so if they want to Eldritch Evolution it away, they don't get an attack in and it's not coming back. Just cord for 2. Yep. Scavenging Ooze. That's not very nice. There's currently a Street Wraith, so I should have minus the Ashiok. Alright, so we're looking for like Shadow, Gurmag Angler, something that we can double up with Bonecrusher Giant or double up with Ashiok. Are we trading Skoos for Bonecrusher? So, like, if they attack with both, obviously we're blocking the Yawgmoth and taking the Skoos. But if they attack with just the Skoos, am I trading? It's like Cavalier. It's a pretty good one. Bernino, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out with us. So we probably should have eaten our own Bonecrusher Giant and then sacked it to exile their yard. No. I want to play this off this in case I need to get basic island. Do I ever play Paper Magic at all? I do. Like, haven't since quarantine started over here, or since paper events stopped being live. But I do enjoy Paper Magic. Really excited for Time Spiral Remastered. You and me both. I'm probably going to be buying like a disturbingly large amount of that set. Alright, so we're dead on board. So Leyline of Sanctity. I think this might change up my plan on the play a little bit. Scavenging Ooze, Leyline. Let's go like that. Excited for enemy fetchland reprints whenever that is. Well, I mean, the last enemy fetchland reprint was what? Modern Masters 17? So it's probably going to be a second before they get reprinted again. Do you have the ley line? You do. Oof. Give me a dude I can dismember, please. Did opponent keep a non-functional hand with a ley line? Alright. Aether Vial. I didn't see that one coming. Just gonna blow it up now, but I didn't see it coming. Alright, play something I can dismember. I can, by all technicalities, dismember that. I could just play triple Shadow, but you have a Veil of Summer too? Just cord for 0? Okay. I don't want to do this. I need to be getting pressure on them. So this could be for like another Strangleroot Geist. Blood Artist. Close does that put me to dead? Triple cord. Triple cord will do it. sack this, put a counter on another one. Yep. See, Hendrick, games I think are going okay. Like, obviously that last one a little bit of an exception, but still wasn't terrible. Like, it just happened to have triple cord, right? We probably should have just windmill slammed the Ashiok earlier. Predicted good games as well. Like hitting the, I don't know what your opening hand looked like, but hitting the Undying dudes was pretty rough. I was super lucky with the ley lines, honestly. Well, the first game you had, or game 2 you had the ley line, and we never saw a discard spell. So I didn't really do anything that game, but game 2, that Thoughtseize would have been really huge for us. Alright, so we're on the draw. Guess we're just putting back Bauble. Yeah. My hand was gassed, just needed a green land. Right. Our hand was okay. We just needed that second land, like, on turn 2. We would have been much better off. So, Blood Crypt Inquisition. No Lurrus revealed. So, my first thought is, like, Rakdos Midrange. So this could be like a Magmatic Channeler here. Dark Confidant. Fatal Push? No Fatal Push. Stubborn Denial. Yeah, I'll probably take a second Stubborn Denial. Typically, these Rakdos decks have like a tough time getting Gurmag off the board. So if I can keep it around for a little bit longer, I'm happy. They know about one of these Stubborn Denials. They don't know about the island. Just Pyromancer or Lily. Can't be Liliana. Pyromancer or Blood Moon. Yep. Discarding Marsh Flats Thoughtseize. So I do need to find an answer to this Confidant pretty soon, or it's going to kind of like run me over. It's worth a try to get my opponent to like throw everything in front of the Gurmag. Another Seasoned Pyromancer is rough. It's like I don't want them to be regassing after this hand. But just like unchecked Confidant into... Yeah, unchecked Confidant into double Pyromancer is gonna be GG's for Shadow the vast majority of the time. Snapcaster's probably like best draw here. We're making this attack because we could just like oops into a battle rage. Now we might just like not attack at all and hope their confidants finish them off, right? So we could attack. Yeah, I think I'm actually just going to pass. Is this blue-black? No, this is Grixis. You have a Liliana. Why weren't you one of the ones flipped over? I needed you to be one of these other cards. So ironically, attacking with the Gurmag last turn, the second Gurmag probably would have been better. Because if they had blocked with the Confidant, they wouldn't have drawn into the Liliana. Alright, what do we got? Come on, die to Confidants. Come on, die to Confidants. And... oh, so close. So close. Alright, K-Command's in, Bonecrusher in. Aether Gust in. Go for the throat. Probably want some number of Soul Guide Lantern because Croaks is a big way that we can lose this matchup. Board out some Inquisitions. Board out Battle Rages. Greatness at any cost. Indeed. Like, sometimes they're just going to go low and you get a chance to get them, but Those Confidants flipped over one too many lands. Alright, what am I thinking? What's my weak spot here? Maybe Bonecrusher's not that good. Like, it's an out to Magus of the Moon. No, it's probably fine, right? Just like a 4-power creature. Shave something like that. Let's see what we get. I did cut Inquisitions. Usually, like, any Thoughtseize mirror Inquisitions, like one of the first cards that I cut. But, like, we don't really want to get got by any big red-black payoffs like Angrath, Rankle, Hazaret. So we just want to, like, keep up answers to those. I would definitely say we are unfavored here. It's not a huge unfavored because, like, all red-black X decks, like, they're kind of skimping on ways to get Gurmag Angler off the board. So that's kind of our saving grace, I guess you could say. His hand's not great, but I don't really want to mulligan against the Rakdos deck. We've got answers to Kroxa. We can beat like a Liliana Edict. We can fetch around Blood Moon pretty easily. So, we'll see. No Thoughtseize or Inquisition is good for us. Aether Gust. Nah. Don't think I'm in an Aether Gust mood just yet. Thought Scour? Dang. So I want to respect Blood Moon, but I don't want, like, Blood Moon controlling all of my plays here. So let's get Swamp. Snapcaster K command is also a really good point to get to. Discard Blood Moon, so I have to assume they have a second Blood Moon. Right on cue. Now the question becomes, can we beat the second Blood Moon? Now that, so they can't K-command it back. I think I am going to bobble on my turn so that I can keep K-command in my yard. Because if I do find my blue source, like I said, Snapcaster K-command is a very real way that we can pull back into this game. Pyro. Alright. Pyromancer pitching a swamp is very bold. Sure. Fine with that. I wanted to draw a card anyway. Something, something, Snapcaster, K command, find a blue source, something, something. Confidant, sure. I'm hoping I can catch my opponent when they like go to crack this spell bomb. Yeah, like I think getting the discard out of them is worth it here. It's like otherwise this Snapcaster is doing like literal nothing, right? They have cling. Sure. So Snapcaster wasn't doing anything anyway. But now they don't get to draw a card. Or they don't get to draw a card off the spell bomb. How about that? Alright. So now I'm feeling pretty good. Not going to Thoughtseize because I'd rather just hold up Drown in the Lock. EE on 1, you got it. Thoughtseize. That's a little mean. Sure. So I think he like has to take Drown in the Lock here, which does mean that I just get to play out my second Gurmag Angler. Thoughtseize into Season Pyromancer is a little bit rough. Alright, get out of here. Might have over-tapped by a mana. It's okay. Yep. You got it. Just Aether Gust a token. And attack in. Alright, game 3. What do we want to change up? This is like one of those matchups where I always wonder if Mystical Dispute is a bad mana leak is worth it. It's like kind of worth it, but not a ton. I think I'll just pass on it. Well, we've got both of our basics and a threat that's tough for them to deal with, so I think we're going to roll with it. Opponent mold to 6. Molds to 6 and respects the Gurmag Angler. Not that one. That one. Alright, so now we can decide if we want to Drown in the Loch them, which is very possible. I want to know if they didn't have the second land and clinged into it. Good draws are good. So now we get to check for like Liliana. Push, push, Pyro, Valki. Am I crazy to just take Valki? Because like if they whiff on their third land and we get to untap and Drown in the Loch the Seasoned Pyromancer, we're like so far ahead. But Valki would get to take our Shadow. Which means like obviously our Shadow's not living. So maybe we're supposed to take Pyromancer just because they can't push Gurmag Angler. If they Valki take Shadow, we can Drown in the Loch it. Well, we're playing Gurmag this turn, so they can't take Gurmag. Yeah, I think it's take season. I think the Pyromancer's got like the much higher upside here. Alright, so they can't top deck Blood Moon plus land. So we'll go ahead and fetch and shock here. It can't hit like land plus Liliana. Yeah, Valki becomes an exact copy of Shadow, so it's a 1 mana dead. if they so choose. And they did hit the third land. Yeah, it becomes an exact copy of the card. So anything that's on the face of Death Shadow, that's what Valki becomes. You can also make Valki a copy at instant speed. So, like, they could have just used their mana into turn to make it a shadow. I'm really surprised they didn't make Valki a copy of it there. It's like I absolutely think that turn they should have copied Shadow. End of turn on my turn, I mean. Because if they missed their fourth land drop and they just want to, like, Seasoned Pyromancer here and I get to counter it. Then they have to chump block with one of these. Yeah. And they can't activate Valki. So, like, Fatal Push would have been really good there. Liliana of the Veil. Alright. So I can't hold up Snapcast or anything, but if I do draw into a Snapcaster, I can hold it up as a flash-in sack effect to Liliana. So I'm going to go with that. Or we can just stub the Liliana. One of the two. These are our options. We're going to choose this one. I guess. I can't imagine the opponent is too terribly thrilled with our top deck there. Not that I blame them. But anytime somebody asks, why do you like playing Grixis in 2020 and 2021 Fire Design? It's because this, getting to dodge all of this, is really nice. Opponent currently chewing their keyboard. Ah! Oh, why did he get Stubborn Denial there? It's actually a lot more effort than I thought it would be. You don't realize how far away your keyboard is from your face until you start trying to chew it. Even though you dealt with them, I think that shows how powerful Spyro is. Spyromancer, or Seasoned Pyromancer, is absolutely like one of the best cards for fair decks printed in the last few years. Like being as everybody, I'm assuming in the chat, probably knows, like, Midrange always has that wrong half problem. So being able to turn your dead cards into a clock and redraws at new cards is ridiculously powerful. So, assuming opponent's on Yorion with a big 81 up here. And, yep, do reveal your Yorion. This hand's pretty bad. This hand's great. So we just don't know what flavor of Yorion, right? So, Utopia Sprawl makes me think like Niv to Light. It's a pretty good hand against us. Dreadbore plus Lightning Helix. You draw a 3-drop. So they can't currently Dreadbore unless they hit a land here. Which they do not. So maybe that gives us like a backdoor out. Is they miss land drop and they don't have Dreadbore mana. But they have a second Teferi. What on earth is going on? Yorion into hand, okay. So I need to find like a fetch land. Still doesn't have black mana, so he can't Nissa. Does have double Bring to Light. Alright, what are my chances, or best chances to win next turn? I think everything is like, they've got a whiff. So I'm going to play to them whiffing. I don't think I can beat them, like, hitting the 5th mana source and Bring to Lighting. I know they're going to get to bounce Shadow if they need an extra look at a land. But I'm going to try to just, like, draw a fetch land, untap, Battle Rage Shadow, go from there. Anything else is outside of my control. But I believe if they're going to bounce the Shadow, they need to start with that. Because if they just happen to hit, like, the 5th land and can make black mana, then they can bring to light or whatever else. Well, I guess they can't bring to light for 5, right? Alright. There's about 100 billion ways that we die here. And maybe like 2 that actually involve us having a chance. That is death. Ugh. Alright. Gust is pretty good. Ashiok's good. Mystical Dispute's good. Push is bad. Dismember's bad. Battle Rage is meh. Cling to Dust is meh. I think we're just going to go like this. Like, sometimes your opponents just keep their interactive hands and you can't do much. But that's why we get games 2 and 3. You ever get like those really good back pops where you're just like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. How's Bonecrusher? I don't know. We haven't gotten to play it yet. If his hand had a land, I'd probably snap it off. Putting back Shadow would have been fine too. And here, if it doesn't say land, I don't want it. Because I need to be able to play out Gurmag turn 2. Don't you dare Utopia sprawl me. Don't do it. Don't do it. Alright. Care less about that one. Fetch land. Fetch land. Thank you. Always try to tell people, just be very, very nice to the deck. And it'll help you out occasionally. Have to say occasionally. It's not an every time kind of deck. Shadow is a fickle, fickle mistress. Am I countering a Utopia Sprawl? I think I am. I'm just like shutting down mana production pretty hard. Push Helix Omnath. Let's just take like Omnath plus push. Start cranking in. Doesn't get much better than turn 2 Gurmag holding up stub. You are not wrong. Few things in Magic that feel so pure. So I could fetch and shock there to make the Shadow a 4/4, but I don't need to, because like my opponent has to make the first move. They're dead to what I'm presenting right now. They have to fire off the Helix first, so then I can respond. Like, I don't have to make a game action. Alright. What are we changing up? Bonecrusher is probably not where we want to be, right? It just like dies to everything. K-Command getting back a threat might be more relevant. But like Bonecrusher dies to Lightning Helix, Fatal Push. It's going to be a big no for me. This I'll keep. Bottom K-Command. Yeah. Opponent, please be gentle. No Utopia Sprawl. No Utopia Sprawl. No Utopia Sprawl. Just pass the turn. Say okay to go to combat, okay to go to second main, okay to go to no. Stop it. They're like really unsure about these sprawl effects, right? Like, I just don't know if I'm supposed to cast it here. I've got it in my hand, but should I play it out? Alright. So I would like to see a Thoughtseize. Thought Scour. Don't think I need a Thought Scour. I'm going to be filling up my graveyard just fine. Alright. So I'm street wraithing anyway, so I don't need to bobble myself, because either the top card's a Thoughtseize Inquisition or it's not. Bobbling myself doesn't change that. So bobbling them gives me more information in case I do draw like a Thoughtseize. Got the Teferi too. Uro. Okay. We're much more willing to listen to the argument of an Uro. Okay. So, option number 1 is play out like Gurmag Angler, hold up Stubborn Denial. Option number 2 is play out 2 Death Shadows. Option number 3 is hold up Aether Gust. So, Gurmag Stubborn Denial is best if our opponent tries to cast a removal spell on the Gurmag Angler, add Yorion to hand, or cast Bring to Light. Double Death Shadow is best if our opponent has 1 removal spell, or if they're planning on using something like Teferi Time Raveler to bounce. Anything like that. Holding up Aether Gust is best if they've got Niv Mizzet, but it is only stopping it for a turn. So I think I'm going to go with Gurmag plus Stubborn Denial. I think that plays around the most. Also gives us the chance to like top deck another land to be able to play Shadow plus hold something. It's like I'm not really worried about them getting back Uro this turn, but I would like to have access to Aether Gust when Uro comes back. Alright. So they got Helix, Teferi, Ren, and 6. So their hits really weren't good. Probably do need to have like Niv or Aether Gust plus Stubborn Denial this turn. So best case scenario is I can catch them with a shuffle on the stack with this Aether Gust. It's like they play out a fetch land, crack it, I respond with Aether Gust. The Cleansing Wildfire me. Just crack it right now. Come on, opponent. put Niv Mizzet on the bottom. That I'm kind of surprised about. Maybe they've got another Niv Mizzet. Guess that would be kind of rough. All right. Alright, so we're just like jamming out everything here, right? Here are my threats. There are many like them, but these are mine. What have you got, opponent? How many of these can you get off the board? Here are my threats. Do you have it? Guess I should have thought about Helix. Like, I wasn't even thinking about them helixing Ashiok there. Okay. I'm surprised they would bounce the Shadow over the Gurmag Angler. It's like if we had a way to lower life total, we probably would have just played it out instead of basic Island. Alright, so let's go Gurmag it to Fairy, Shadow at them. So we do need to get Teferi off of the board. And here, I don't want to put myself dead to, like, double Helix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if they play like Niv, they can't pay for dispute without another land. I don't care about Teferi. Teferi plus, like, push would be rough. I don't care about Ren and 6. Omnath. So I let... Oh, man. So if I let Omnath resolve, then a fetch land means that they can play whatever. Worst case would be like fetch plus Uro. If I mystical dispute this. Alright, so what I'm going to bank on is I mystical dispute this, and then I'm just going to hope that they pay and they don't have a payoff with the 4 mana. Because I don't think there's a lot they do with 3 mana here that I care about too much. But if they have pay for this, fetch land, make 4, is that going to be enough mana to get punished? So I sack a creature, you make a 1/1. Alright, we'll sack a Shadow because they're easier for my opponent to deal with. Swing in. What do we got? We've got... Alright, I think I just have to take Helix. Or no, probably have to take Niv, right? I'm just giving them like this backdoor out of second Helix killing me. White, red, white, red, white. So if they draw a red source, they could get an extra draw of Cleansing Wildfire. If they don't draw a red source, white, red, black, or white, green, black, blue, red. So they can't Niv-Miz it plus. Alright. Alright. I'm going to sit here all day wondering what I should take if I don't just take something. Here's to death. Is that going to be like our new page meme? Here's to death. Just got back from lunch break. How'd the first league go? We're in match 5 of the first league. We're currently 3-1, going for the 4-1. Seeing what happens. I'm assuming this is Cleansing Wildfire. Yep. Are we dead? I can't look. I can't look. Okay, they didn't have the push before, so that's one of their draws. That does keep them alive. This is Ren, sure. Helix me. What did they do? Oh, they got windswept teeth. Alright. Well. Don't care about Ren and 6. Do have a K command in the deck. So Yorion, all right. So it is a chump blocking Yorion. I'm surprised as well. They absolutely could have killed me there if they had just, like, pointed Ren and 6 at me. So, a blind draw to kill me again. And the answer is... Don't you Kaya's guile me. Nissa? Alright. Alright. Boo. Boo. Are they just trying to minus this on like a Niv Mizzet? I think they are. Opponent, you're overthinking this a lot. I'm not leaving in fatal pushes against Niv Mizzet. So they drew a Guile. Ironically, they've given me a backdoor out of drawing into K command this turn. Because they didn't find a, what's it called? They didn't find a Helix. Alright, K command off the top one time for some justice in the world. Dang. Alright. We'll see how far... No, we can't see how far down it was. Dang. Were they at 5? Thought they were at 1. What gained them 4? Oh, they guile. Psh. That's not a real magic card. Alright, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, and I will be right back for the next